Greetings, Universus Players, and welcome back to another video. My name is Willie T, and today I'm going to be bringing to you an unconventional deck profile. We're going to follow down the trend of the Chrome Rare characters from Jetburn, but this time we're going to take a look at our young hero, Izuku Midoriya 5. Let's take a look at him and what he can bring to the table. Well, what better place is there to start than with the character card? Izuku Midoriya 5. Midoriya 5 is a 6-hand size character with 27 health. He has the air, all, and life symbols, and he has two notable enhances. The first is that he readies one of his rival's foundations in order to give his charge, kick, or punch attack +3 speed and +1 damage. That speed is blistering. It is so easy to get little attacks through over and over again on our rival. With this guy, 3 speed is so much. So that coming at a cost, it realistically is 2 speed because we're readying one of our rival's foundations, but there's a lot of ways that we can interact with that throughout his kit. The other enhance is a once per turn, discard 1 card, draw a card for each charge attack in your card pool. This once per turn is crazy strong. It is able to really put the gas into your aggression and make sure that you are getting everything through that you want. But it also means that we have a deck building restriction. We're pretty limited to charges, and that's gonna be the primary way that we're gonna put damage through is by using charges in order to get damage through, draw more cards, and keep up the onslaught. So let's see how we can bring his Air Force style to bear with all of these new charge attacks and see what we can make happen with this cool new character. Before I talk about the attacks though, I do want to talk about a really important card to our strategy, and that is 2 copies of Air Force gloves. This card is really strong in our character for a lot of reasons, but primarily it is that first response. That definitely makes our aggression so much better and make sure that our character is online. You don't require this card in order for your character to really be online and achieve his full potential, but it definitely helps. And one of the things that I made sure to do in this all symbol attack lineup is make sure that none of my attacks have printed stun. So this triggers itself on every single attack that we throw out in this attack lineup. So without further ado, let's talk about those attacks. And let's kind of start at the top. Let's work with 3 copies of an old favorite, Create Capture Net. This card is very strong in this build, especially if you have your Air Force gloves built, because between these 2 cards, that represents stun 3 on a 5 low for 5 move that you are throwing at your rival as a good opener. Plus you're getting to build down some of your key foundations throughout the whole process. It's really strong to be able to open with this card, and the fact that it is a charge synergizes with our character really well and makes sure that we're gonna be able to make the most out of everything that we swing at our rival. To follow that up, we are gonna play a pair of really cool cards. We're gonna have 4 copies of Hardened Barrage and 4 copies of Rapid Punches. We'll start with Hardened Barrage because this card is very cool in this character. We have a lot of foundations in this lineup that are flip foundations. Hardened Barrage increases its damage for every copy of itself that's in the card pool, and given the way that our character works, we want to have multiple copies of attacks in our card pool in order to draw more cards. So this just feeds into itself with this card. Additionally, it gets +1 speed for every copy of Rapid Punches that you have in the card pool. So together, the 2 of them are going to make a really awesome attack package that really puts the pressure on your rival because they don't want any of these things to hit. If Hardened Barrage hits, you're gonna get to unflip a foundation. Rapid Punches, on the other side of the coin, draws you a card every time it hits. So throwing multiples of these together and slinging them at your rival is a great way to really keep on the pressure and make sure that they're not going to be doing anything that is threatening you because they're going to be on the defensive the whole time. Now that we talked about those 2, let's get to some of the more new and juicy things. 3 copies of Last Second Release. This card is released in Jetburn, very, very good opener for this deck because it says if your rival has no committed foundations, you get to target commit one rival foundation. This is such a powerful ability for any card to have, and it combos well with our Air Force gloves in order to respond to get the stun one, target commit something, stun something else, and then ready the thing that we stunned for the extra stats. The other thing that this card can do is it represents a lot more damage than you would think because it has the ability to, as a response, commit a foundation after the block step to give it 3 damage. But also notably, it does have EX2, which is very important sometimes because we have a fair amount of ways to get momentum. Everything we throw is very fast, so putting things into the momentum is something that we have the luxury of doing, and being able to throw this out there, get extra damage, and potentially be able to use our momentum to get that extra speed that we need to make sure this connects, really, really powerful. Next, we're gonna get onto our 5 div attacks with a copy of a card that I really, really love and I've wanted to play for a long time, Justice Rush. I'm running 2 copies of Justice Rush because this card is an excellent opener for this deck. Being able to combine it with Air Force gloves, give it its own stun 1, give it a stun 1 from itself. This is now a massive speed. It is 6 speed, 8 damage once you have done all of your abilities with stun 2 as an opener. This card is crazy good. It also has EX4, which can make it a powerful finisher if you need to get things through. And it has a really strong deadlock enhance in the event that your games do go long. That's not the game plan, but sometimes you need the backup. And to round out the attack lineup, I have 1 copy of St. Louis Smash. This card is really cool. It feels a bit cloggy running at multiple copies in a 50 card deck because this is a card that that purposely has anti-synergy with our character card. We want multiple attacks in our card pool in order to draw extra cards, and this also wants multiple attacks in our card pool in order to crank up its powerful. Removing them kind of makes one or the other not as good. So a lot of times I have felt like I have to use my once per turn from Midoriya on this attack specifically, even though I might have another attack or 2 in my hand to really make use of it with, in order to make sure that this is the powerful haymaker that just ends the game right then and there. Really, really strong card. The powerful 3 on it is so relevant, but it also just can sometimes get you a free momentum, and sometimes this thing just ends the game right then and there. Very, very cool card. I love it at 1. I may try it at 2 in a later build of this deck, but it feels good at 1 for now. It's a good way to just wrap the game up in a nice little bow. But let's go ahead and talk about the foundations and the things that are going to be keeping us alive, as well as facilitating that offense that we really want to make happen. Well, we've talked about the attacks that get us there. Let's talk about how to make them even better. We'll go ahead and start with 1 copy of Prone to Dry Eyes. Only run 1 because we don't need a whole lot of extra copies of this. We have other ways to facilitate our game plan, but Prone to Dry Eyes is a way for us to take the extra cards that we're drawing from Midoriya and turn them into additional advantage, making everything that we do represent additional damage on the board while we're drawing cards from our character as well as drawing cards from on-hit effects. Makes this an extremely dangerous piece of our board with some added utility on the defensive side of things. Being able to ready some of our face down foundations while being stunned is very important to our game plan. We do have a lot of flip foundations that we're able to make use of this with, so it's a really good card. It doesn't need to be more than 1, but it really just takes it to the next level when we do have it. For the next piece, we have 1 copy of Defending Pageant Queen. This is definitely a card that's really, really strong. I like to have this card available to me in pretty much every game, but running it at 1 feels correct for a 50 card deck. I don't need multiples of this sitting on my board really threatening things when 1 is going to do me the job in combination with the other pieces that I have available to me. Reducing something's speed to 1 is an incredible benefit to any deck. I expect to see this card a lot in many decks over the course of the next couple of weeks and months as we go into the World season. But this card is very good here. I like having it available to me at 1, and I play a second one in the side for what it's worth. So it definitely helps out. To follow that up, we have 4 of Midoriya's pretty signature foundation from this set, Air Force Style. This card is incredible with our character. Readying our rivals' foundations and spinning them back into the deck is a great way to really make sure that we are taking care of threats for later, debuilding our rival in there, and we're able to use it to commit and draw cards and gain health when we play keyword abilities to boot. Or sorry, rival keyword abilities to boot. Definitely makes a huge difference on our board, and it makes every deck that plays Nice Try feel bad passing into you. It is not a good time to be a Nice Try player when Air Force Style is on the field. Next, to facilitate our defensive game plan, we have 3 copies of Specialists of Sound. You know it, you love it, or you hate it, if you're on the other side of the table. But this card is here to keep us alive. We definitely need to survive with our 27 health in order to make sure that we're pumping out that aggression. And this is a card that keeps us in the fight for the entire game. Being able to respond for -3 speed, it is the perfect timing to make things like that happen, and it really does go a long way to keeping us healthy over the course of a game. Following that up, we have 3 copies of Multitasking. This is another one from Midoriya 5's kit that really helps us out. We're able to ready our rivals' foundations in order to get +1 speed and +1 damage in combination with all of the other stun that we have in the deck. Being able to commit most of our rivals' board and having all of our moves be extremely fast means that our rival is generally going to be committing a lot of resources to block any one of our moves. So giving them more isn't really going to be a big deal because everything is so costly, and getting a good exchange rate of 1 speed and 1 damage per one that we commit ready from our rivals is going to be very beneficial to us over the course of the game. I have had this card go pretty stratospheric in terms of the damage that we're able to put out on any given move. Following with our plan of drawing cards, we have 3 copies of Chivalrous Competitor. Chivalrous Competitor may draw our rival a card, but when we're giving our rival a card when our moves are so fast, it generally doesn't matter too much. So being able to go deeper and deeper into our deck is really going to benefit us more than it's going to benefit our rival. Additionally, the added utility of being able to intercept destruction and flips from our rival is very important. Being able to keep our key pieces face up rather than having them flipped face down by our rival's effect is an absolute showstopper for our rival. Next, another way that we can weaponize the cards in our hand is 3 copies of Snack Time. Snack Time synergizes extremely well with Midoriya because we're able to stun down our rival's foundations, get additional speed, make sure that everything is so costly to block at the cost of cards in our hand, which we're totally okay with. We're going to be stringing 3-4 attacks together sometimes, drawing a bunch of those cards back. Getting rid of the foundations in our hand once we have an established board doesn't really affect us too much. So Snack Time goes a long way to getting this deck to the finish line. Following that up, we have 2 copies of Full On Attack Mode. Full On Attack Mode is one of our ways to keep ourselves out of deadlock, but I don't expect that going into deadlock is a particular problem for this deck. It is just another way for us to get additional damage. Very fast moves tend to hit. That's just a fact of life with the game. So taking all of those attacks that hit and turning them into extra damage is a great way to make sure that we get there. Following that up, we have 3 copies of Celebrity Status. This is a card that not a lot of decks play, but because of the nature of our character, how easy it is for us to get momentum, and how easy it is for us to, draw cards on demand, this card goes a long way for our character, being able to just take one of our attacks that we hit with earlier, put it on top of our deck, and immediately draw it with something like Chivalrous Competitor or our once per turn on our character goes a long way to making sure that we can just put out those strings that are absolutely crazy and make our rival really think about what they can and cannot do. Following that, we have 4 copies of You're Finished. Absolutely fantastic spam. This is a great way to just round out the attack lineup. It's a fantastic deadlock threat, so once we actually get to that point, being able to combine this with our Air Force styles in order to make sure that we target commit and then target ready, the things that we don't want our rival to have, is imperative in the later stages of the game in order to make sure we get to take care of all that. The amount of deadlock in this deck is crazy. It is seldom that you will be able to use it, but once you do, you are in complete control of that game, and this card definitely helps that out. The other cheeky thing that you can do, because your character discards a card on face, you can discard a matching attack with what is already in your pool in order to flip all of your finishes in order to draw more cards, so you can use them for snack times or prone to dry eyes or whatever you need to do in order to make sure that your rival is really going to get put in the ground. And last but not least, we have 4 copies of Easily Excited. This card just adds on to our already speedy package and makes sure that our moves get through. Really fantastic way to round things off. Plus, that nice 2+ high block definitely comes in handy. Being able to keep ourselves alive and keep one of these in hand in order to do things, or just discard it to snack time or prone to dry eyes to make sure that our rival is really in the dirt, is the way to go. That wraps up the main deck itself. Let's go ahead and take a look at everything block zone by block zone so you can see an idea of how it plays defensively. And there you have it, folks. Izuku Midoriya 5 under all. Laid out here for you, we have 19 high blocks, 15 mids, and 16 lows. I went a little bit light on the mid blocks because there aren't that many things that are particularly threatening that we don't have potential sideboard answers for that are mid attacks. Things I'm thinking about there are like Detroit Smash or something like that. We can take a Haymaker. We can take a few things like that. It's primarily the other zones that I worry about, so I wanted to lean very heavily on those. The other thing that we have the benefit of is being able to keep our mid-block attacks in our hand, where most of our mid-blocks seem to exist, and that way we can keep that around and play the defense around that. Either way, the deck puts out some really crazy offense, being able to hit with a ton of things and really take advantage of what Bert and Ernie bring to the table with Rapid Punches and Hardened Barrage in order to really just put the pressure on and keep everything flowing in our direction and make sure that we put our rival in the dirt before they can do anything about it. That wraps it up. Like, subscribe, leave a comment with your thoughts, and until next time, just watch me.